So, good evening, friends. Uh, I, Nirmalia Chakravarti, founder and editor of Jungle Rhythm, is back with yet another web session on wildlife. Today, we have the great explorer and wildlife photographer Julien Boulé with us, who is going to take us through an adventurous journey to almost all the wild places on Earth. Welcome, Julien.
Thank you very much, Namaria. So before we start displaying the picture, I will maybe introduce myself. So as you said, my name is Julien Boulé. So I'm a French wildlife photographer. I mean, I'm not a professional. It's more a passion than really something I'm living from. But in my dream, I could probably live from that job, from that passion. So I've been in wildlife photography for almost 12 years now, intensively. I've traveled a lot. I'm mostly interested by large carnivores. I love all wildlife, but mostly big carnivores, meaning big cats, small cats as well, bears, hyenas, wolves, canids. So all those are my main focus. It's of course where I live, we have very little of those animals, so it's a reason why I've traveled a lot to see them. And initially I was more into watching. Was always been fond of wildlife, but then at some point in time I started to photograph them. And I think now it's quite an interesting tool to photograph, to demonstrate the remaining beauties of this world, because these beauties are really ever shrinking now. So we have to protect them, and I think that what photography is a very important tool to help in that respect. So that's what basically I've also focused on for the last 2-3 years, try to advocate for wildlife. So that's what I will also try to also illustrate during this presentation. So I think Maya, you can maybe start the display. I will talk about a couple of very different subjects and experiences, trying to describe the ecosystem, trying to describe the target animal that I photographed while I was on site. Trying also to discuss, if I can, if it makes sense, the relationship between let's say animal and humans. Are there conflicts? Are there solutions? So that's basically what I want to cover tonight. So I hope you will enjoy the ride. Um, so I will start by one of my favorites. It's the Kermode bear, spirit bear, sometimes called a spirit bear. So it's one of the fascinating animal that you can see in the wild. It's a very rare animal. You will be surprised to hear about it in a couple of moments. So just a couple of pictures to describe the raw nature of Western Canada, British Columbia, exactly. So it's really at the western side of Canada, the southwestern side of Canada. It's a very beautiful place. It's full of pine forest and islands on the coast. And this forest is called the Great Bear Rainforest because it rains a lot. So it's also a very good habitat for a lot of animals, so including grizzlies, black bears, um, a wide range of birds like bald eagles, also wolves, also a lot of different animals. But it's like any other environment. It's in danger, so it's something to take into account. So I think you can
So,
move to the next.
Julian, pausing a little bit here, how difficult it is to reach this place?
It's okay. It's not super difficult. I mean, you need to fly to Vancouver, for instance. That would be the best destination. Then move slightly up north, and then like with a probably 2-3 days of sailing, you would reach the place where you can find the Kermode bears. So it's not super complex, but I think it's not super accessible either. It's not like you're going to see it right down on the from the plane in Vancouver. So a couple of road driving to maybe Port Hardy, if I remember, in the North British Columbia, and then some sailing from there. And during the sailing, you can see this type of very interesting landscape where you have humpback whales. You
Yeah.
can sometimes see them breaching, so it's also very nice. Sometimes they almost never breach close to you, but sometimes
Yeah.
you have you may have the luck to have this iconic image where a huge whale is emerging from the water in close quarters. So it's quite interesting to see it, and it's also something that helps during the 3 days of sailing because you're very eager to see the bear, but you have
Awesome.
to see and focus on other animals. So you can see other sea mammals in these waters. You can see orcas, you can see seals, you can see fur seals as well. So it's a very interesting ecosystem, very diverse.
So, Julian, one question here. When we are especially photo shooting marine mammals, and you are not in a stable platform, the ship may be or the boat may be rocking. So, what do you generally use for stability in all those circumstances? How do you shoot such images, great images of marine mammals?
It's there's no perfect solutions. I mean, shooting wildlife mammals. I'm not a super specialist of marine mammals, and to be I'm more a
Mm.
land mammal specialist. But it's I mean you need to use your gears the best you can. So you would go for high speeds in let's say um, large aperture, high speed. Beef up the ISO if you can, if the light is okay, is not too bad. Uh, and a whale is not a large whale is not very difficult to photograph. However, the result is a bit uh, it's not as impressive as when you're doing underwater photography. That's what I want to say.
Okay, so moving
Sorry, there's a
on.
bit of background noise. So first, these all these small islands on the western coast of Canada, they are the realms of the black bears. So the black bears are very numerous. So black bears are Ursus americanus. So they are, of course, only present in North America. They are a bit similar to the Indian bear, but very remotely. I mean. You would really easily distinguish one from the other, but since they are black, they're a bit, and in size they are not much bigger than Indian sloth bear. So so there all these islands, all these coasts are full of black bears. On they are in let's say challenged by the grizzly bears, which are much bigger. So sometimes it's there, but on these islands, on the island where the Kermode bear sometimes are present. There are no grizzlies, so they are black bears and Kermode bears. So they're also challenging themselves to find the right spot for food. But that's what I wanted to highlight, that these animals are ruling the place. So the black bear is ruling these little islands in Western Canada.
Awesome. So what I see, Julian, is you directly have focused on the eyes, and it has come tack sharp. So do you want to give any guidance of how to shoot portraits like this?
It's, I mean, the place where I shot this, it's a place where I shot as well the Kermode bear. It's a very interesting place because it's a river. Of course, the bear come here because of the um, salmon running towards the source of the river. and the bears are in some sort of little um, ladders of water, if I can say this word. I mean, little steps of water where they are it's very flat, so it's quite easy. So you can use your tripod, and you can of course get the best out of your camera from using of course the tripod in very stable conditions. So in this, really, for this picture, it's quite easy to get sharp images. But I think I'm quite focusing. My intention is, of course, usually to present a very sharp subject, and of course, the best I can to have, let's say, an interesting depth of field, so that the subject is very well highlighted or presented. So here you see
Okay.
the environment on the island itself. So the island is called where I went is called Gribel Island. There are many other islands where we can find camo there. So you can see already this small whitish creamish bear here. So this is where actually what I was saying about this flat let's say place of water where basically they are trying to catch the salmon. So it's a very green and very wet or humid place. The name Great Bear Rainforest is not undeserved. But it's a very pristine environment, and so that was this slide was to illustrate the environment, which is which I find very beautiful. I will later explain a bit more about the bear itself. So on the next.
Julian, how difficult is to track these bears in this forest?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, when I went there, we were on a boat. As I said, we had sailed for 2-3 days to reach the place, and from there you reach a place where you meet the local people. So the local peoples, they are called Gitgat people. So it's a tribe of native, I would say, which are running the place, so running the show
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
get to the bears on the island. So they bring you from with their boat on the island, and they make sure that you respect all sort of rules. They bring you to a couple of different places on the island, and to be honest, it was not very difficult to track the bear. The reason also is because this year when I went, so it was 2014, it was a very good year for salmon, and also the water levels were good, because sometimes the water is level are not are very low, so bears are not there. So it may be that from one year to the other, it's more difficult to actually find the bear. So sometimes you reach the island, you walk 1, 2, 3 hours, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, and then that's a good scenario. It may be that for other years, it's more complex than that, and you will have to do a little more trekking to get to the bear. So it's a little trek. It's not super steep or difficult to reach the most interesting places.
And is there 100% sighting in all the trips you made, or something? That means every time you go and see and have a successful sighting. Is that how it happens?
We saw Kermode bears. So we only stayed 3 days, because I must say it's a bit expensive to stay on the island. The local people are very are making you pay a lot for this type of. I think they deserve it. I'm not really complaining about it. So it's not a cheap experience, if I can say so. You can, I mean, you could stay longer time, but I think in 3 days we saw bears every day, Kermode bears every day, many times per day. So they are very present. So it's I mean, as I said, the issue is that in some cases, if salmons are late, if the water level
Mm.
are low, if there are some conditions that may lead to an unsuccessful trip. That
Right.
I must say, but I think there are a couple of other places so where you could also see the bears, where basically it's probably 100% sighting. So there are a couple of, there is one lodge, I don't remember the name. It's not exactly on the same island, but it's a place where you can see both grizzlies and black bears and camelot bears. So it's a bit easier and a bit less adventurous.
Okay.
So here you see
Mm.
the camelot bear in full very close. So also
Mm.
made an interesting slow motion effect on the water.
Yes.
Um, you have, I mean, you see, you have the time to do things with the bear. They are very focusing on one thing, which is catching salmon. So it's so you can try very different things. You can try a long exposure. You can try as many interesting things that cross your mind. Just a word on the camelot bear itself, because some people may believe it's a polar bear. I think we
Mm.
had this
Yes,
discussion.
many people must be feeling already it's a polar bear living in a rainforest.
Yeah, but it's not actually not as it doesn't look like. It's actually a black bear. So it's a black bear with, let's say, a recessive pool of genes,
Yeah.
which lead to this creamy color. So for some reasons there are I think the let's say the incidence of such form of black bear is not so common. It's probably 2-3% in the wild. It's probably a little more than that on the it's not probably, it is a little more than that. I read 20 up to 40% on some islands. So all the black bears. So if you take a population of black bear on the island, you will have 20 up to 40% of all these black bear, which have, let's say, turned into camelot bear, also spirit bear, ghost bear. So it's quite important to mention it. It's absolutely not a polar bear. So it just
Perfect.
that's why you need some very specific. I don't know if there is a degree of consanguinity between the animals, maybe, because when animals are living on the same remote and small island, at some point there is always increased inbreeding, I would say. Uh, Similarly, as probably what you could say for the number of occurrence of black panther in India, it's also something
Mm.
very similar. There is probably something that is around that to explain the number of black panther in India, because it's not just the black panther of Kabini, it's a lot of black panther in total. So I mean, a lot compared to
Right.
Africa, for instance, it's a lot. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So it doesn't move necessarily to the next generation. So the bear sometimes they, and this the one which is on the picture was is a mother, and she had two, when we were there, she had two black cubs. So the genetics is such that it can exist in the wild. It's just a couple of mutation in genes that are explaining this.
Right. So
Um,
and are these bears aggressive towards humans who visit?
no, no. Black bears in general, I would say you have to beware. Um, they are probably less aggressive, for instance, than a sloth bear. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Probably less as well than a grizzly, but they are bears. They weigh 150 kilos, sometimes 200, probably even more than that. So they are large animals, and they are much more powerful than we are. And sometimes they can be very curious. So that's the danger. But when we were on the island, we were never feeling in danger. And also we have the local people helping as well for the security. But nobody's carrying a rifle, for instance. So
Okay.
it's not a big danger. It's not a big danger.
Okay.
So here you have a picture which also was rewarded in excuse me,
Mm.
which was rewarded in a French contest in 2015. And you have face to face between a black bear and a Kermit bear. So they are competing for, as I said, for a nice spot for salmons. Huh? So they want to get the best spot to fish the salmons. When the salmons are running, they are it's a bonanza, and they are going like crazy. So that's one of the reasons why they are not very aggressive. It's because they are completely focusing. Uh, this was shot in September, so September, it's the beginning of fall is already there, has been there for some time. So they need to gain some fat so that they
Right.
can try to go to hibernation. So it's important for them to focus more on food than on let's say humans, which are really not good for food. So it's quite, that's the idea. So you have sometimes this type of situation where the bear are a bit too close from each other, and they sometimes can fight for this, but sometimes it's more about showing off and making yourself more impressive than you are. But they are we haven't seen fight where bear were injured. So sometimes it can be a bite, and that's all, and or sometimes not on picture you showed it. There was no real physical fight. So you can see now on this picture that as I said, that they are a very good catcher. One of the reasons they say that these bears are more present in I mean on these islands is that they may tend to say that some studies at least say that uh, the white bear display less shadow on the water, and the salmon may not see them as well as they see the black bear. So
Right.
in this in let's say general condition, being white for a bear is not really helpful. In very specific condition like on these islands, it's quite because sometimes there are black bears which actually do not catch fish, and they would just have a very different let's say food regime, food diet. Um, these bears, which are really dependent from salmon, they are, apparently the white bear have a more successful catch ratio than black bears. So that's why this gene slowly went to become not dominant but more present in individuals. Yeah, I think so you can, as I said, you can try to uh, to have some let's say to enjoy the experience. You can try you have the time to find interesting spots. You have the time to move. You have the time to look for interesting portraits and interesting in portraits, sorry, and interesting let's say posture. As I said earlier, on that picture you see the mother and two cubs. So it's
Yeah.
I think it's probably sure that you get a Kermit bear cub if both parents um Kermit. You can get black cubs from Kermit bear. You can get probably as well. You get as well Kermit bear cubs from black bear. So this is it's a bit the complexity of genetics, but it's something
Right.
that is quite possible
Right.
in the island.
Julian, when you were there, did you hear anything about global warming, the population of salmon getting decreased, something like that? Something that the issues and challenges of the environment itself?
Mm, there are many challenges in this environment. It's not necessarily global warming there. It's more one of the challenges overfishing. So maybe
Okay.
more for the impacting more the grizzlies, because in there are areas in Canada where actually in some places salmon, some species of salmon at least went extinct locally, which creates of course
Mm-hmm.
stress for the bears, and probably reduces population locally as well. Also, other environmental issues are logging, the logging industry. So they are really cutting a lot of trees, and you can see some, let's say, while you are sailing, you can see some, let's say, mountain sides which are completely devastated by the logging industry. So it's a bit sad sometimes to see that. And one element as well, and the people in the village, so the Gitgat people, they are a bit they are very upset also by these large tankers which are carrying oils, and sometimes can lead to a devastating incident when there is a when a ship is actually wrecking on a coast, or so it's those are the main environmental problem they see. So fighting all these problem, and it's quite difficult. These people in the village, they have let's say, they are doing what they say, because they have this wildlife industry that is it's not this situation where it's quite okay for them. Even BBC is coming to BBC, National Geographic. They are very often coming to um, to record or to photograph the bear. So it's quite interesting. But other people in the regions, it's not always so easy. So they have the usual problem, so it's a bit sad as well. Yeah. So I think we are done for the care mode. I don't know if there are questions, but it's
So just one last question. So you mean to say September is the right month to go?
uh, it's quite important to be synchronized with the salmon run.
Okay.
If the salmon are not there, the bear are much more difficult to see, because when the salmon are climbing the little rivers, the bears are let's say going for the, as I said, for the bonanza, and they want to to eat as much as they can, because it's close to the time they will have to go to the den. So September is usually a good period. I think there may be other run earlier in the season. Maybe I don't want to say a mistake, but maybe in June as well. There may be so twice a year there may be a time where it's possible but maybe I'm mistaking with some grizzly spots. So it's but September was
Yeah.
is definitely, in that place, is definitely the right time to go.
Okay. And one last question: is there any other wildlife found in these rainforests? For example, mule deer and any other? What are the other fauna that is present in that habitat?
Uh, on the island, I must say you don't, because it's, as I said, it's islands, huh? So it's
Mm-hmm.
isolated. So there may be larger islands than Gribble Islands, where you may find the coastal wolves,
Mm-hmm.
but not on Gribble Island. And other islands, you may see the grizzlies as well. Larger
Mm-hmm.
islands, on not on Gribble Islands. So here the bear are quite at home, I would say. So there are a couple of birds, a couple. Yeah, I think you could see the usual bald eagles. You can see probably some pine martens, maybe
Mm-hmm.
some pine martens. So but that's not super extended, because some islands are quite small in size. So it's and sometimes the bear will cross from one island to the other, because it's at some point
Okay.
the food is the food reserves are exhausted.
Okay. So coming to pumas now, a completely
Yeah,
different habitat from the
yeah,
north to the south. Over
Yeah,
to
the
you.
north, the extreme, this is almost the extreme southern tip of America. It's
Yes.
Patagonia, so the very south part of southern part of Patagonia, a place called
Mhm.
Torres del Paine, a
Mhm.
national park. It's a beautiful place. I wanted to display this picture, the type of landscape you can get in this. This is really the end of the end mountain. So
This
it's
mountain.
yeah. So they go from southern tip of South America um, to even the north of Canada, if I remember, at least the central part of Canada. So it's a very huge mountain range. But in Patagonia, it's not very high. So it's I mean you're probably between 500 and 1,000 meter high. Not that much. So it's you don't get exhausted while tracking the Puma. Although sometimes you get exhausted because you if you carry all your camera gear and
Mhm.
your tripod
Mhm.
and so on and so forth, you get a bit tired at the end of the day. So it's an interesting experience because it's a big cat.
Mhm.
It's a big cat
Mhm.
that you will track on foot. So there are
Mhm.
not so many experience that you can get with big cats on foot like this,
Mhm.
because you could not. I mean, the ground is very difficult. So you can drive a little, but at some point in time you need to go by foot, and that's interesting because I mean for the average person, being in front of a big cat seems like a big deal, and I would say that. Would not like myself to see a tiger by foot, for instance. I don't know. I would probably I know how to react, but I would probably be on the day it happens. I would probably um, try my luck to run, which would probably be a bad decision. So of course the puma is not as large as a tiger or a lion or a jaguar, for instance. They come some individuals they come at the size of a small lioness still, so it's 100 kilo cat. So still can be still it's much more powerful than I mean the human being. So it's something to think about. But so coming back to the adventure itself, we were blessed to see that was the first sighting of pumas I had. So a mother and two cubs. So we had to climb this a cliff, and that was a bit harsh after the road travel. But then we were already Thursday rewarded by a sighting of puma in a very nice, let's say, environment. So it's not a close up, but I think that it's also sometimes, as you know, quite important to have this opportunity to illustrate the animals in the habitat. So I was quite happy to already have this sighting because I mean when you've never done something or it's the first time you want to photograph something, there's always this pressure that you want to actually get it well and quickly if possible. So it doesn't happen all the time. I will later come to this thing, but yeah, I was quite lucky, and I think when you go in the right season with the right people, because you need still some skills to track the pumas,
Yeah.
um, you will see pumas in Torres del Paine.
Okay, so Julian, how do you spot a puma? Because in India, spotting a tiger, you need to listen to the alarm calls, you need to listen to the sound and the signs of the jungle, for example, pug marks, etc. So, what is the recipe of spotting a puma in Patagonia?
Um, I think in a couple of places you can find tracks of pumas. You can see the pug marks, so you can
Mm-hmm.
start that. That's not perfect science, and so I think it's sometimes easier in India when you have these large let's say dirt tracks where basically sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the cat will walk
Right.
for kilometers, and you
Right.
basically follow them. You don't always get the
Right.
cat, but I mean you're not very far. So it's the beginning of the track, because sometimes in these rocky places you would lose the um, the cat situation location, I would say.
Right. Right.
So it's about the experience, because it's not a very easy subject by itself, but the very experienced guy, they 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 know where, let's say, a family of cats would usually reside. I mean, in
Mm,
average, basically. So they have this
mm,
notion of territory. So this family,
mm,
for instance, was known to live around that place. So,
mm,
but I mean, you need what you need. What the guide with me had, Roberto, he had a fantastic, he had fantastic binoculars.
mm,
So it's really not the average binos that you have. Even myself, I had. I mean, sometimes I was using mine, and I mean, saying average plus binos. I was not seeing
mm,
what he was seeing in his binoculars. So he was scanning a lot, all sort of places, all sort of sometimes caves where basically in the past
mm,
he had seen the cats. So
mm,
that's that's a key for success. You have to have extremely good binoculars. And of
mm,
course, with this scanning, taking the time, sometimes also we would. He was also helped by another a ranger of the park who was also, let's say, monitoring the cat here and there. And would say, "Oh, you go 2 kilometers away, you will find a
mm,
puma is lying on the rock." So they have some sort of networking, which also sometimes will help.
mm.
So it's similar to also to India in that respect. Sometimes it's good to have information from let's say other people on the field.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the following observation and was another family of pumas. Uh, Here it's a
Mm,
female puma. She had killed a guanaco. One thing I wanted to say also, when while looking for the pumas, now I remember, is that you may be helped by alarm calls from guanacos. So the guanacos, they
mm,
are the favorite prey of the pumas. So the favorite wild prey, because
mm,
pumas sometimes have issues with, let's say, ranches, sorry, because they look
mm,
for the cattle, so small cattle,
mm,
meaning sheep, for instance, which are
mm,
very easy to catch.
mm, mm.
But when it comes to wild prey, the guanacos are yelling like crazy when they see a puma. So it's
Okay.
when you hear this type of noise, you say, okay, something is happening. A guanaco will not call
Okay.
for just for the fun. So you have to go where you hear the sound of the guanaco.
Okay. So
Um,
you had the privilege of hearing an alarm call there?
yeah, many times, because you sometimes you would see a puma in even in the distance, or in a other side, let's say cliff or a mountain. You would
Mm,
observe it from just from the bino. So not always you get a good opportunity for photography, but you need to
mm,
see how the situation will develop and what you can actually do to come closer to the cat if possible. Sometimes it's simply not possible; it's too far away. But you would see how the puma would actually try to get closer to the guanacos, and sometimes guanaco will actually smell or
mm,
see the pumas, and they would start yelling. So many times I've seen that. Yeah, it's not uncommon. It's more
mm,
uncommon to actually see a successful hunt. This
mm.
I've not seen. I've seen pumas with, let's say, carcasses and dead guanacos, but I have not been able to see
Hunt
an
itself.
actual hunt. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So another
So yeah, you see the
thing,
yeah.
another aspect you have highlighted is the conflict with ranchers. So is it
Mm.
very common, and do they have electrified fences in the ranches where big cats can get electrocuted. So all those problems we have in India. Have you heard anything about that when you went there?
It's similar in a way, not exactly the same because in India, you of course around the park you have a huge you have villages, but I mean not large villages, but with a good
Mm,
number of people still. Here
mm,
it's a very remote area. Uh, where we photograph the puma, it's a national park, so it's in this place the pumas are protected, similarly to India. Outside of the
mm,
park, they have a dangerous life. They and it's probably they are. I mean, tigers are probably more respected in India, although sometimes they create panic.
mm,
But when a puma is seen by a farmer or rancher, sorry, in close to ships, sometimes they would fire on the puma with a rifle at first sight. So
oops.
that's the issue
Mm,
they have when they leave the park. They may need to find another territory. There are other remote places, but they may cross properties where they sometimes will be killed. That's okay. So there are now some let's say ranches where they are more welcome than they used to be because some people are realizing that they may get as well some money from tourism if they respect pumas.
mm,
So pumas are making people come
mm,
to see them. So it may be okay that once in a while they kill a sheep and that's it. But not all people are let's say open-minded and free to let the pumas in their close proximity.
great. So, Julian, what is this action about?
It's a cub, so almost I would say a sub-adult cub.
Mm-hmm,
It was a cub of the female you saw eating
mm-hmm,
on the carcass. It was
mm-hmm,
this female had three almost grown-up cubs, and they were very playful, like some tiger cubs can be, like
mm-hmm,
most of the cats can be when they are young. They are very playful. So this one was pouncing on one of his siblings. So he was, crouching, and then suddenly, when one of the siblings was closer, he was just, starting to run very quickly, trying to mimic the hunt he would
right.
do on a guanaco, for instance, which is always the so that's a guanaco in the
Yes.
let's say backlit conditions, which I really enjoyed. You can have very different light condition in Torres del Paine. It may be very nice, it may be very windy, it may be sometimes a bit overcast. It's changing a lot because it's always still very windy. So you may have very different light conditions in all day long. So but on let's say a 10 full day trip there, there was only one day where basically it was not it was too windy to go for the search, a bit too risky. So otherwise, it was
Okay.
quite well and a bit cold because I went in May. So May
Okay.
is the winter. Is You have to know that Torres del Paine is really a renowned park for trekking. So there is a trekking season. It's the more in the let's say spring and summer of South America. While
Right.
when it's fall and winter, the park is almost empty. So the
Okay.
pumas literally walking on the trekking path. So sometimes, it's very. There are a couple of let's say hotels which are lodges which are still open during that time. So you really enjoy a very nice place. almost
Mm.
alone. While when it's the summer season, it's very difficult to see the pumas in Torres del Paine. So if you
Okay.
want to, there are times where you can still go. You would go outside of the park. There are, as I said, there are a couple of ranches where people have started to realize that they may get money by letting people enter their property and try to look for the cats. But I would say from March, April, May, it's super good for to be almost alone in the park. Uh, June probably. July, what could be interesting is that you may have some snow, so
Okay.
it's interesting as well because Puma on snow is also a very nice thing to have, which I did not because in May it was not. It was quite cold. We had -5 sometimes, so it's
Mhm.
you have to be ready. But it was blue sky, so it was absolutely no snowing.
Perfect. So,
So
Julian,
Guanaco, I mean, it's yeah.
one thing. What is the average number of days that one should stay there to have a successful sighting, or a heart-filled portfolio of images?
It it's you. I mean, a good portfolio would probably require 2 weeks.
Mm.
I mean, from 4 days, I think you will see a puma,
Mm.
and you would be able to get good images. For I would say 4 days is really a minimum. 10 days,
Mm.
like I did, it's super good. If you stay more, of course, you will get fantastic results. So guanacos are some wild ancestor of the llamas, so they are very common in this part of Patagonia, and they are
Mm.
the largest herbivore of the grass-eater mammals of the um, of the park.
Mm.
So it's naturally the main prey of the pumas.
Okay.
So maybe you can move to the next step. So that one is quite a special one because I mean seeing a puma mating is quite rare. I was told,
Mm.
so I was quite lucky. You see, so you can be lucky and have some interesting moments. We were looking for pumas that day, and we came across a ranger friend of my guide Roberto, and he said, "Ah, hurry up! You have to go walk 1 kilometer. There are two pumas mating."
Mhm.
So we said pumas mating. So my guide, he's been guide for like 15 years. He had seen that
Mhm.
only 2 times before, just to say that it's not super common. So
Mhm.
we saw a full like a tiger is very similar to all the cats, and so it's
Mhm.
the courtship
Yes.
and the reaction of the female after the
Yes.
coitus is quite common between between all the cats. I would say it's a specificity they have. So that was quite an interesting moment, and we were able to see the important size difference between a male and a female puma. It's I mean, the male can be much
Yeah.
larger than the female, similarly to all the big cats as well. So it's not
Right.
not uncommon in cats. So here you have after the two pumas mated, we followed them for a while, trying to because we were slightly upward on the hill, and
Mm.
they did not really saw us, so it's see us. So we were able to see them, and they were looking for another place to mate. It's like other big cats, they will mate a lot for a couple of days, looking for other places here and there to find the right moment when the female is ready for mating. So here it's the female,
Yes.
so it's a
So,
very
what is the lens you took, Julian? Because
usually
sightings
my
may be
favorite
happening.
yeah,
Mhm.
my favorite lens is the 500 millimeters f4.
Okay.
It's a very nice wildlife photography lens.
Yeah.
More recently, I've been using also the lightest one, which is the 500 sorry, 5.6, which is the new super
Yeah.
light lens of Nikon.
Mm,
It's quite an interesting tool. When the light is a bit missing, you see a little the
mm,
difference. But when light is okay, I mean, there's little difference between in quality. So it's not
mm,
a cheap lens still, but it's
mm,
probably still half the price of the other one.
mm,
It's quite good. The reason why I'm using that is that that lens is that the comfort you gain with the in terms of carrying the lens for long days is huge. And after a day shooting with this small lens, you don't have the back pains and neck pains that
yes.
you or muscle pains that
Yes.
you would get from the large one.
Yes.
So when you cannot use a tripod and that you need to shoot handheld, so
Mm,
yeah, it's quite a relief at some moment in time. But I must say that there's still a quality bargain to
mm,
accept. So I have both.
mm,
I don't have a 600. I've
mhm,
also been using a 800 for that a friend lent me. It's also an interesting lens, but my favorite lens is 500. I also use the very lightweight 300 f4 from Nikon.
mm,
Quite
mm,
quite handy as well, quite practical. Similar remarks
yes.
compared to the 300 f 2.8.
Mm,
There's a little bargain in quality, but the difference of weight in weight is
right.
amazing. And sometimes
Right.
I would use the 70-200, which is a classic wildlife
Yes.
lens. Although I'm
Yes.
a bit less fan of the results than, of course, with the 500 or even 300. But I prefer to be
Right.
not so close from the animal, from the subject.
Right.
Uh, yeah. But I mean, we
So
can get
so
to
this
also interesting habitat shot with the 70-200 sometimes. So
right.
everything
So
is
this upgrade.
you need to find the right balance.
Right. Right. So this photo of the Puma directly looking at you. So is it shot by
Mm.
that 500 f4?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Interesting story as well.
Mm-hmm.
We we saw Puma from a distance. He was really sleeping. So we progressively we gave time to the animal to accept us in his let's say proximity. So we it took us a while to approach the cat. He was I'm very relaxed. He was lying on the ground, and we were progressing. I would not say meter by meter, but very slowly. It took us a couple of hours to come,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, like 25 meters close to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he, at some point, for a long time as well, when we were like 25 meters, I don't know exactly, so I don't remember if it was 25, 30, 40, but it was quite close
Mm-hmm.
for a big cat. You're in the action, you don't realize it's a cat which is very close, which is quite powerful and which is quite close to you. And also the guide was also quite relaxed. So this individual particularly was known for being
Right.
particularly relaxed with people.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I mean, when he started to stop sleeping and raised on its feet and started to look at me, he was not looking at me; he was looking at us. That's an impressive moment still. And he looked at us for a couple of seconds and then started to move away. He was really not in a panic or absolutely not. I mean, as I said, he had slept close to us for probably 1 hour before he decided to move away. So
Approach.
he was probably up for something else. Um, then we left him some space, uh, but still follow his path for a while, and at some point we came again. Our paths would say crossed each other, and he was we had seen him going around this huge block of stones that you see in the
Mm.
foreground, and then so we followed him along this stone, and then he went outside of the path, and he looked at us for like again a couple of seconds. So you need to be very reactive.
Mm.
It's not like it's you have the on that one you don't have the time to take your position. So and that on this type of occasion I was shooting handheld, so it's not like you have the time
Mm-hmm.
to settle your tripod because we are working,
Right.
and that's also quite important during working. Sometimes you have to take the camera and lens
Right.
and
Directive
shoot
shot.
handheld because otherwise you would lose the right moment. And I think this moment where basically we have this eye contact is was super nice. And that one is also nice because you can see the landscape behind
Yes.
the cat. It was a female puma. She was very shy. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they give this name of Puma Malo to some cats.
Mm-hmm.
Malo it means evil, some sort
Mm-hmm.
of, because they have this look which is this face, and when they stare at you, you get uncomfortable, I would say. So they give this name Puma Malo so this one was a Puma Malo. She was but still she was shy, and maybe you can see the round belly. She was probably pregnant, gravid.
Yeah.
So the interesting story is that she was much lower on the. You see, she's at the top of
Mm.
of a hill. She was
Mm.
much lower. It was the sun was setting at that time, so you see the nice light
Mm.
of the end of the day. The sun was setting, and the cat was much lower on the hill, and we said, ah, that's too bad that she's not on top of the
Mm.
hill, because on where she was there was almost no light, so it was a dull image, and
Mm.
suddenly magic happened. Basically, she climbed the hill, and she scratched the ground for some time, and she took this nice position where basically she's contemplating the environment, and gave us a very nice photo opportunity, I would say. So that was
Perfect.
sometimes. I mean, in most cases, we would dream about, oh, that would be so nice if a cat would be there, and we have the magic light, no cat, or we have the cat and no light, and sometimes you come into let's say luck, and the cat and lights are there at the same time. So it's quite
Perfect.
a nice
Perfect.
moment.
And especially the face is completely at the juncture of both the hills together. So it's such a
So I
lovely
think we'll
composition.
move on to the polar bear. So Alaska. So it's a special place. You would not. That's the end of the world, I would say, because it's remote north of Alaska. You come to
Right.
this very small village. I mean, Inuit village. So the local
Mm.
people are Inuit people. You don't feel like in America. Well, I mean, they have the cars and they have some facilities, but it's quite special. So, and it's the place where in September, October,
Mm.
the polar bears are waiting for the ice floe to actually form, because they have been starving during the whole summer, and they are waiting for the ice to the ice floe to actually build, be strong, so that they can walk on it, and then they can hunt for the seals, and they will have to go for seal hunting and eat as many as they can, because they need the fat of the seal to make their life. So, but in Kaktovik, they come here for a specific reason. There's no secret to it. The locals, the Inuit people, they have the right to kill two whales per year, I think, when
Yeah.
it's the right season, and they because they feed out of the whale, so it's not just for fun. They can eat they have permit to eat the whale, and when they have the remains of the whales on this special place after they cut the meat of the whales. Some bears are which are of course very hungry. They would come to eat some of the remaining meat, and they are gathering. I would say a good number of bears are there. As I said, they are. This is before they can go on the ice floe, because once the ice floe is solid, they would not be seen by anybody mostly. So it makes the village an interesting place, because if you want to wander by foot, somebody would say that's not a good idea, because 100 meters, 500 meters away, that's a story, because we were a bit ignorant with two friends when we were there at the first day, I must say. So we tried to walk, and somebody with a car came and picked us up and said, okay, 500 meters away there are like 20 polar bears. It's probably not a good thing to walk there to go there by foot. So we are feeling a bit stupid, and the lady, she brought us back to the hotel. So basically, the adventure itself, it's about boating in the Arctic Sea, and look for bears. They are scattered on the beaches of Kaktovik, on the small islands. Sometimes you can come very close to the beach, and you get a very interesting action shot. Here it's a mother and cub. Here that's another mother. She was really close to us. We were almost stuck in the sand, so she had started to put her paws on the boat. Fortunate, she could not climb. I'm making the story bigger than it is, but that's still an impressive moment when you have this. So we had to use some paddles to move back from the beach, where basically we were struck. So that was a funny moment, I would say. um, but she was curious. Polar bears are extremely curious animals, which makes them dangerous. We are not necessarily in their usual diet, but since they are curious, they can be dangerous for humans. They would be more dangerous when they are starving than, of course, when it's the winter and they have many opportunities. But the natural curiosity they have for mankind, and for mankind, is that makes them dangerous animal. Probably some of the most dangerous animal in the world, of course, with the big cats. But they are nonetheless beautiful animals. We have seen incredible things on the behavior of the animal is sometimes amazing. We've seen a female polar bear trying to play with us. I mean, I'm not joking. She was having some sort of wood stick, and she was trying to launch the stick to us. Come pick the stick, go back to her initial place, and launching again the stick to us. So it really looked like a dog, willing to play with us. We have seen also sort of nursery, where basically you had two mother with, let's say, each of them two cubs. So they were not supposed to know each other, but they were like two women discussing while the cubs were playing together. And the cubs which were unrelated, and so it's not a natural thing. So there are probably a lot of things we don't know from the behavior of polar bear, and they are probably more social than we think they are, because we see them as the big loner of the Arctic. But when they come across each other, they have some interesting relationships. So it's probably a lot still to learn about them. and sometimes they can be extremely nice looking. I mean, like this big male. That's probably a 500 kilogram male. So that's start to be a big individual. I say that because we saw him on the beach. He was huge. Uh, some bears are sometimes estimated to be able to reach 1,000 kilograms. Extremely rare, but they can be easily 700 kilos. So they are the largest carnivore in weight, land carnivore, I would say, equal to um, the bears in also in Alaska, not the grizzly, but uh, I've lost the name. So there is a subspecies of brown
Kodiak bears.
Kodiak, yes, Kodiak bear. So Kodiak bear can be as big as polar bear. So
Yeah.
and they are very close to polar bears in terms of to brown bears as a species, because I think some people say that the the speciation between the two animals is probably between, so it's a large range. It's between, some people say minimum of 100,000 years, maximum of 1 million years. So it's they are very close, and they can reproduce and with brown bears. And this happens more and more because of climate change as well. Because
Yeah.
in the past they used to have very um, separated biotopes. Now the
Mm.
problem is that with the climate warming, the polar bear are still in the same place because they don't go more in the south. But the grizzlies, mostly the grizzly bears, they would come more in the north, and they
Yes.
come sometimes, they cross the polar bears, and they create sometimes since they are very close, they, I mean, what I mean by close is genetically close.
Mm.
They can breed with the others,
Right.
and they create this sort of hybrid bears, which are called Grolard or Peasley.
Mm. Mm.
So it's a contraction of grizzly and polar. Um,
Exactly.
so it's also an interesting fact coming from the climate change.
Exactly. So you absolutely said it right, Julian. Because when I was in the Arctic, when I went, there was an article that I read in the newspaper, in the local Alaskan newspaper, with exactly the story you told, where a male grizzly bear traveled far north, mated with a polar bear, and that was shot by a local in his mobile camera, and that came in the
Mm,
newspaper. So that was a
yeah, I
very,
remember
very
that.
clear evidence, direct evidence of climatic change, and you rightly pointed out. So that was a
Yeah,
year ago when you went, and it is a harsh reality of climatic change that's happening and affecting the poles right away.
yeah. Well, of course, coming back to climate change, I think I mean, polar bears are a very important symbol of the climate change. We know that because of the conditions in the Arctic, the Arctic is warming much faster than the rest of the world. Uh, these bears will have a different. We don't know exactly what will happen to them. So today, what people may think is that they are super in danger. It's not exactly true. Uh, there is an estimate population of 25,000 bears, polar bears across the Arctic, around the Arctic Circle. Sorry, so it's probably similar to what remains in terms of wild lions today. So just to make it, so it's not good for lions, but it's okay for polar bears, and they suffer from, let's say, from shorter winter and longer summer. So the
Right.
time where they can find some food is becoming challenging, and they need some fat as well, and it's difficult for them. So they don't hibernate. but they need some fat because they live in very difficult conditions, sometimes -40 and so on. So it's difficult. I mean, there is no single situation for polar bears because we are talking about different population. I think I don't remember exactly. Maybe there are 17 different subpopulation of polar bears, and
Right,
they do not have the same fate when they are on
right.
Spitsberg than when they are in Alaska or in Russia. So there are different conditions. Some bears
Right.
already trying to adapt, looking to hunt prey on the like walruses on the beaches. So they are an intelligent animal, but will they have the time to adjust to this climate problem? This is a big question mark. I mean, it's probably same question mark for a lot of animals, unfortunately.
Exactly. So what I have also read, Julian, is due to this scarcity of food, the mother bears have started giving lesser litters. The litters are malnutrition, and most of the litters do not survive.
Mm.
So that is actually the heartwarming effect currently that's happening. So yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a big problem, slowly rising.
That one is special to me.
Mm,
So you may wonder why is there a picture which is not of great quality there,
mhm,
because that was the first moment where when I saw this guy which is called Blackie.
yeah.
Um, we saw Blackie in a cabini. I think most of your auditors they know well cabini or have heard about cabini. And that was I must say that I was a bit let's say surprised and super emotional when the guy in the car said, "Oh, it's the Blackie." So just what I want to very give the story behind this picture is that it was my third time in Kabini. First time was in 2015. Blackie was not there yet in Kabini, but I had some friend who told me, yeah, if you want to see Indian leopards, come to Kabini. It's a super good place. You would enjoy the place. And tigers are becoming also less shy, so it's also than they used to be. So it's also interesting for that. So I came there, had a nice trip, and then a couple of months after, I remember I heard about this Black Panther, which had let's say enter into the Kabini Park. I was say, wow, that this one is fantastic. So 2 years after, 2017, I arranged a trip to see Blackie. Spent almost 2 weeks on site. I did not see Blackie. So that was that I had very nice leopard sighting, very nice tiger sighting. I think that cabin is becoming also quite good for tigers, but I was disappointed. I mean, so that's sometimes because I would not want you to think that it's all about success. Sometimes there are failures in also in wildlife photography. So you have to be patient. Sometimes you have to try your luck several times. Uh, so I was disappointed, and maybe I was at some point saying, "Okay, too bad. I will not see Blackie." And then a year after, 2018, some friend of mine said, "Ah, we see this picture of Blackie on Instagram or Facebook. Can you arrange us something?" So I said, "That's very tempting." So now I organize something, and let's say October 2019, we are back in Kabini right after the monsoon, so it's not super easy conditions. But I mean, this guy has been seen all year round, so there's not a bad period to. But I was a bit afraid before we came because the guy has not been seen for a while. So it's when we arrive at Kabini, the guy has not been seen for a month. Sometimes he's not seen for 2 weeks, or we know he's kind of he has special arrangements of his own, and he goes a bit outside of his let's say territory inside the tourist area. But I was not super optimistic because I mean, if if it has not been seen for a month, then it's we will probably not see him. And we were at the same time with other French people who also were looking for Blackie. And we at some one day, I think it was a nice story because it was the second day of our presence in Kabini. We had only like 7 or 8 days, so it was short. But I mean, before that we went to see the lion tail macaques in not so far from Kabini, for a couple of 100 kilometers. But long story short, then we see these French guys. So in the for a little break, we leave the place 3 minutes before them, or maybe 5 minutes. We drive the road. I mean, we're alone on the road, and then suddenly our guide said, "It's the Blackie! It's the Blackie!" So he clearly saw the Blackie in the distance, and I was like, I'm used to seeing big cats, big animals. I was like shaking. So and the car was still on, so that's why I mean, I took this record shot, the first picture you see. So that's the emotional part of the let's say of the presentation today. I was like in some sort of shock. So that was an animal I so wished to see. And then he started to walk. He moved. Kosovo looked at us a couple of times. So light conditions were okay, but not super great. I mean, you see sometimes overcast in very long monsoon after monsoon let's say weather. But I mean, we had the cat. He was like 40 meters away from us. That was I must say I was so pleased for like 3 days after we saw him, because we have to come to Kabini. It's a long distance, so every time it's a bet that you can lose. You may not see we might not see the animal again. So it's really sometimes, which makes also wildlife photography fun. It's that you have no guarantee of anything, and that's sometimes people do not like that. And some people are asking, why do you not go to a zoo to do your picture? Isn't that the same? I say, no, it's absolutely not the same. Because you need to search for the animal, you need to take the risk, you need to expose yourself to a possibly unpleasant situation. But when the situation gets pleasant, it's paradise. I mean, it's in your mind, and you're blown away. So it's and this is what happened with this Blackie, because I wished to photograph him so much that the bad part of the story is that the encounter was like 4 or 5 minutes, so we had enough to and then he crossed the road, went into bushes. Then our friends are coming right after and say, "Have you seen something?" Yes, how to say it? These guys, they stayed like they were already there for 12 days. And I said, "Yes, we've seen Blackie," and they were like crazy, like no, oh my God, it's not possible. You have seen Blackie, and we have missed him. And they were they were really really sad about it, and they did not see him. So it's they left like 2 days after, and they were disappointed. But I think I told one of the guy that he has to follow my story, because 2 years before I hadn't seen Blackie. So it's for us, it's it's difficult, because you have to schedule your when you come, and you do that a couple of months before, and you have absolutely no idea that Blackie will be there specifically for you on these 10, 14 days, or even less sometimes. And that's a bet that this time I won't. I have other stories of let's say being defeated by animals I haven't seen. I mean, I've missed leopards in Sri Lanka. I've missed seals in the North Sea. I've missed so you have to be strong, and you have to continue to see what to be. You have to believe in your dreams, and you have to be good to nature at some point in time. Is probably there's probably karma, and it's probably paying. This is my only explanation on why a Blackie appeared on that day.
Perfect. So, what was the lens used here? So, what you had
That's
in
the
your
five.
hand?
Yeah, that's the 500 f 5.6. So the
Okay,
little one. So that was quite
that is
handy in that situation to see to be quick. It's very practical for that as well. And you don't need to.
right.
I mean, when you carry the big one, it's you always take time to be ready. There you can shoot almost immediately. So it's quite. It makes a difference in that type of situation.
Perfect. So, changing channels again, Africa. So, before going deeper into Africa, Julian, um, so what are your feelings about these different types of wild habitats? What is more close to your heart? What species or what type of habitats?
Uh, my favorite country would be probably Botswana.
Okay.
It's a very special habitat. You have this place called the Okavango Delta. It's a
Mm-hmm.
place where basically you have an inland delta which never ends in the sea. Instead of ending in the sea, it ends in the Kalahari Desert. So it's a mix of desert wildlife and very aquatic wildlife. And the animals, the land animals, they have to adjust to this very, um, let's say, special conditions because they are more made for the desert condition, but they are also close to waters, and so really creates a wonderful habitat. It's one of the country which is the best preserved for wildlife. Although recently they had some bad stories about reintroducing elephant hunting, so it's not good. But before that, it's one of the most preserved country I've seen in my life. Um, Indeed, Africa is very rich for different type of habitat. You have very dense forest, you have desert, all sort of desert. I would not see. I've been in the Namib. It's not at all the same as the Kalahari, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everything as an interest. The big cats are everywhere. They are in the forest. They are in the desert. There are some well-known big cats in lions in the Namib Desert. It's a incredibly resilient pride which is in this country. So it's it's so immense and so diverse Africa that it's a very huge land. Huh? That I mean you could explore it for you don't have enough of a life to do it, or probably not enough of 10 lives to see what you can. And photographically wise, it's also very rewarding. I mean, when you go to a place like Masai Mara. So sometimes there are people who are very fan of Masai Mara, but others who say, okay, it's too crowded. And that's true. Sometimes it's too crowded, especially when you have the migration of the wildebeest. It's very crowded. But sometimes you go to in Masai Mara in December, you would be quite impressed by the fact that it's almost empty. And there you have a variety of species which is second to none. I mean, it's incredible. You have so many elephants, um, uh, so many species. Even I mean, India is remarkable for that as well, and that's why also I really like India. It's because the number of species, the number of habitats is quite impressive. Um, it's true that in Africa they have large parks, so it creates a feeling that sometimes you don't have in India about being really in extremely wild places. While in India, you have, I mean, sometimes places are a bit parks are national parks are a bit smaller, much smaller, I would
mm,
say
mm,
even.
mm, mm,
When you're inside, you have this touch of nature and freedom, but it's not as, let's say, intense as what you
mm,
can
mm,
get in Africa, because it's a, yeah, it's a magic. Africa is a magic continent, so it's
perfect. And
yeah.
moving on with that, Julian, what is the most memorable wild encounter you ever had? So, if anybody tells you to choose one, which story will you choose and why?
In you mean in Africa or in general?
In general, lifetime, what
Yeah,
is
that
the
that's
most
clearly
exciting? Yeah.
the most
Mm-hmm.
exciting moment when I saw this sloth bear and tiger facing each other. I mean, even the photograph with the Kermode and black bear is great. That was a very nice one. But the intensity of the bear trying to defend himself, trying to chase away the that was one of the Telia cub tigress. She was almost two, and the situation where they are facing each other. That's probably my all-time favorite moment I had, and it was such an emotion, such a moment that I mean, it will stay forever in my mind and in my heart. So it's that's clearly something I will I cherish as a memory, and I think I came up with some interesting picture as well. So I was quite proud of this. Quite lucky on that one as well. As I said, luck is sometimes there, luck is sometimes not there. But I mean, when it's there, I mean, as a photographer, you can only be happy.
Right. So into Africa. So
Yeah.
huge task
So
here.
yeah, I selected a couple of pictures from Africa.
Mm,
That of course, the elephant is an iconic
mm,
animal of Africa. This one is in the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania.
mm-hmm,
I think a lot of people like this picture because there's like a 3D effect on it. I mean,
mm-hmm,
the elephant like looks like very um, large and in three dimensions, while the background is very shallow and I think the light was also quite okay, and the mud on the elephant is also quite good for the, and also of course the skin of the elephant is always something nice to skin.
right.
If you're too close to an elephant, sometimes there are so many details on the skin, and you
Mm,
can notice as well the little hair on the skin. It's always very funny. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite picture of elephant. One of the first, because this one is probably more than 10 year old picture. So and this one as well is a special one. I think I name it front side side.
mm-hmm,
I saw this group of oryx, so the
mm,
Remsbok.
mm-hmm,
This one is in the Kalahari Desert,
mm-hmm,
and there are many of those guys, very beautiful antelopes. Uh, and I was watching these three guys for a while. They were together, taking different position, and That's one of the moments where you have the luck to say, I wish they could do something which is about symmetry or dissymmetry, and at some point in time, two of them they were on the side and one of them looking in the front. So there may have been other interesting, let's say, composition, but that's the moment I was expecting, because there are many other pictures of this moment where it's not so interesting, but that uh, the way they are settled on the picture is, I think, it's quite interesting. Yeah, this one was leopardess in Botswana. Also very relaxed. She was very high on the tree, but I think that she has an expression in the eyes which is which I really like. She's like dreaming. She's like I think she was looking more at birds or something above her, but she has this expression like she's in the clouds and she's so peaceful. So it's
So
that's
how difficult is it to track a leopard there? One of the
you need
big five.
yeah, it's not super easy to be honest, but there are a couple of places where they have regular sightings because they're like for any other places where you can see leopard, they have the leopards are patrolling the territory. So you would also hear some alarm calls from let's say the vervet monkey, the baboons, or
Mm-hmm.
also the other let's say ungulates like impalas or
Mm-hmm.
so you would also get some good hints to where the a big cat may be. That's very similar to India when looking at it. But that's not super easy to get them in Botswana. First trip I made in Botswana, I did not see a leopard.
Mm-hmm.
Then after I saw them a couple of times. When you see them, it's always great because of the landscape, because of the large trees, because of many reasons. Now we're moving on to a very special animal. It's the African wild dog. So it's you
Yeah.
have the Indian wild dog, the dolls,
Yeah.
which I really like as well. They are very
Mm-hmm.
close cousin by the way, so very closely related in. When I say that in my mouth, it means genetically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those guys are very special. They are so amazing when they are a big pack, when they hunt, when the all the savannah gets really crazy because they are super good hunters. So they know that somebody will be the snack of this morning or this night. Uh, Not always, but they have great success in hunting, and they are so it's also amazing, they are so friendly together, like a pack of dogs, so very sometimes they would nap before hunting, so they would gather all their strength, and when they wake up, it's like they haven't seen each other for months. So they are so super friendly, licking each other and being super excited, like dogs can be, you know, moving the tail and being so friendly to each other. So they are really really nice animal, and they are when they are in a large park, there are no even hyenas would not really compete to them. Lions a bit much larger, so it's different. But even a single lion against a pack of wild dog would not be very comfortable, I would say. And
So
in
where?
that picture, what is really really special is the light. I mean, it's you have this
Yes.
golden light of Botswana.
Right.
Botswana also has the um, great golden light. I mean, it's probably longing 1 hour or so. So it's you don't find always something in to put in the picture, but it's long. And it's great opportunity. So it's unlike in Kenya or when it's very short. Uh, in India, sometimes it's short as well as far as I remember. But you have sometimes opportunities still to get this backlit image with this orange light, which is also super great. Another very endangered canid, it's
Right.
the Ethiopian wolf.
Right.
So it's a very I think people are saying there are not more than 400 dogs in Ethiopia. They're only living in Ethiopia, closely related to gray wolf. So the wolf that you also find in I mean India. It's a bit special. The wolf. It's not clear if it's a subspecies of gray wolf or it's a species of its own. So, but it's very closely related in any case. So, but it's closely related to wolf. They look a bit similar to fox on stilts. but
mm,
they are clearly wolf, and they do not hunt like wolf. They hunt like because wolf would usually hunt as a pack, looking for large animals. Here in Ethiopia, the Ethiopian wolf they they would split, so they would gather for the night as a pack, but then when it's time to hunt, they would split and they would hunt alone. And when they are alone, they would look for small prey like uh, giant mole rat. So it's
mm,
like 100, sorry, 100, like 1 2 kilograms rat,
mm,
which
mm,
lives in the underground, and they are very agile to catch these guys in before they get into the den. So it's so that's
mm,
the main food from these guys. So they do not hunt for big animals. They may conflict sometimes with local people because they may kill a lamb sometimes. That's
mm, mm,
sometimes they may have this opportunity, but they are not seen as a problem in general in Ethiopia. First, they are very
mm,
not numerous, and if you look at the number of feral dogs that they have in Ethiopia, it's I mean, it's feral dogs are a problem, and these dogs are not a problem. But the problem is that they can interbreed with
mm, mm,
feral dogs, and I mean, that's not very good for the species itself because it may dilute into it may, I mean, lose some important part of their gene pool. So it's also it's a problem, and they also get disease from the feral dogs. So it's sometimes they have to vaccinate the dogs because otherwise there would be a whole population maybe completely gone uh, in a couple of weeks probably.
Okay, so are any of these wolves radio colored? How difficult is to find them?
No, it's quite easy to find them. I mean, you need to go to the Ballet Mountains, to the Saneti Plateau,
Mm,
and it's a high altitude plateau. It's 4,000 meter high, so it's special for Africa. This type of and you can see this type of vegetation, which is called Afro-alpine vegetation, which is
mm,
not so common in Africa. You need to go to the mountain places to have this type of vegetation.
mm,
So honestly, you go there, it's not so difficult to find them because they are basically patrolling the place. So they look for opportunity to hunt for the mole rat. So you would easily get a sighting of an Ethiopian wolf. I think that if you spend at least 3 days, well, I think I would encourage to spend more, but you spend 3 days, you would be very unlucky to not see them. The situation, the latest situation, because I've heard they had some disease recently. So, and I think also they had some stability issues in Ethiopia. So it's probably a difficult target right now. Well, for me, the lord of the jungle is the tiger, but the lion is the lord of the savannah.
right,
But people like to call him the king of the jungle, or so it's
right,
they barely
right.
live in jungle. So, but just
Lord of the Savannah.
I'm just
Perfect.
I'm just picky on words, but it's I see what you mean. Uh, so that picture was on a very cold morning in the
Mm,
Okavango Delta in
mm,
Botswana. Um, that's probably one of the nicest thing you can see when you see a lion
right.
roaring in the wild. That's something which is so emotional. You feel the noise in your chest. You see, because it's so
Mm,
powerful. When you're close to it, you feel you hear, of course, the noise, but you feel it in your body because it's so powerful. So, and this large male when this that was a morning where it was dusty and also a bit foggy. So you have this. That's why the image looks a bit whitish,
Mhm.
and also why you see the the, the, the breath of the lion when he's roaring actually and pushing for on his voice to actually roar. So it's one of my favorite sound in the wild is a lion roaring. Also I really like tigers. It's a bit different, but and less common. But it's also a very nice, slightly different. But it's also very nice. I could not also talk about Africa without presenting a picture of a black rhino. Black rhino is one of the most endangered animal. It's as you may know hunted for similarly to the Indian rhino. I mean, they all have this curse, which is this horn that these Chinese people want to get to presumably cure some disease, which is absolutely no, which has which is absolutely not backed by any science evidence, and we have to face this problem of animal being killed for stupid reasons. That's such a shame because we have already so many problems, so many conflict of habitat and wildlife human habitat, and on top of it, animals are being killed because they have this horn and this belief that the horn will help. I will not detail the reason. Will help people. Same for tiger bones. Or it's such a shame that
Right.
we have to face this when we have already so many problems on our planet. This climate problem, which is becoming, will be certainly a huge problem in the future, and as well these animals being killed for almost no reason. So it's sometimes
Okay. So
it makes you very
where it
very
is
sad. That
shot, where did you get this frame?
this one is in the Masai Mara.
Okay.
It's where you can see the some black rhinos. It's not there are a couple of black rhinos still there. No, I don't know the number of rhinos remaining in Africa, but black rhinos are very endangered. Also, still also in the Masai Mara, one of the iconic female leopard that I think she's still there, and then she's a bit less present, but her name is Romi. So she's quite famous in the Masai Mara. I mean, big cats of the Masai Mara, they are usually well known by the wildlife or big cat aficionados, so they all have a name.
Mhm.
And this one is a very she's a very beautiful leopardess. She's very classy and she has she looks nice. Her face is nice. I don't know how to explain more than that, but she looks friendly. That's she's probably not, but she has this face which makes her friendly. So that was a nice moment while she was also patrolling the territory in the high grasses. She was very with the little wind. She was very beautiful.
Great. So the last chapter, Monday animal. So you want to introduce this yourself?
What do I do with my picture? So I do a couple of things with my picture. Sometimes I do wildlife exhibition. I try to when I do that, I try to advocate for wildlife. I try to explain what I've tried to explain today. I try. Sometimes I have technical questions. Sometimes I have questions on the animals themselves. People sometimes are completely ignorant about animals. The most silly or funny question I usually get is, "Are tigers from Africa?" That's sometimes a question that, in first place, it made me jump. Now I'm used to it, but people do not know that tigers are from Asia. So it's you see that there is a huge learning curve to come to this moment where people will be more aware about animals. So I do exhibitions. So I print pictures. I was fortunate to do a book 3 years ago It's called Monde Animal, so it means animal wildlife animal world. And here is my son presenting it. He was he was 6 months old. Now he's 3 years and a half. I really like this picture. It was so lovely on it. And
Is
it's a book I've made with some friends. So we wanted to make a coffee table book to illustrate our passion for wildlife, and it's made India, but I think India deserves a lot of time
so
to
what
be
is this?
well presented.
So what is this experience about, and where is it?
This was an article that was in Service magazine, your Indian magazine. It's the story of the tiger and the slaughter. So that was in Tadoba, where the Telia Cup, she saw a sloth bear, and she went after the sloth bear, and the sloth bear reacted very. I don't think you have the best picture in the surprisingly in this, but that was quite funny in the first place to see a tiger and sloth bear in the same frame. But
Hmm.
then yeah, you see the picture on the right low end corner. It's the situation where basically the tigress and the bear had to face each other, and the bear was super pissed off after the tigress because she had followed him for a while, and she he was stuck in the forest at some point, and then he rushed out of the forest. And that was, as I said earlier, that's the most powerful moments of wildlife I've seen in my time. I think I was like we are like since we are following the tigress, following the bear. There were a couple of vehicles. I mean, it was when this happened. It was so silent. I've never seen that in India. I mean, like 50 Indian um, wildlife fans behind me, all completely silent, no word at all for like a full minute. You can imagine that. So it's that was so impressive that moment. So it's everybody was completely shocked. So this article was in Cyrus. It was I presented. I had some good contact to publish the article, and the story was interesting. So presented all the elements of the story. Then made also an article in a French magazine which is called Nature Image. If you want to basically talking about my experience with the Kermode bear. So I try to publish articles when I can. Sometimes it's not so easy. Also, at this is an article in Sanctuary Cubs, yeah, magazine on Pumas. So I was also quite happy to be able to have this opportunity to talk about the Pumas. So I don't remember probably in 2018 the article. Pumas I've seen in 2016 and wrote the article in 2018. So that's more or less all for. So I try. I think it's quite important to mention that beyond the passion for wildlife, we I think we have a responsibility to educate. We have a responsibility to talk about the problems, and also have a responsibility to try to be also um, virtuous. I mean, I think wildlife tourism is a good thing in general. I think sometimes there are there is a bit too much pressure on animals, but I think that and we see that during this crisis that we are facing, that poaching is on the rise, and I think it's quite important that wildlife tourism is really concerned is reconsidered by authorities as something important because without the wildlife tourism, a lot of animals will disappear on this planet. And it's much more important that any sort of tourism. I mean, because the 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 loss of biodiversity on the planet will have a very dramatic impact on even on us. So I think we have to fight for this. The downside of wildlife tourism nowadays is these questions about flying, because also we have responsibility to try to limit our carbon dioxide emissions. I think it's a problem for a big risk. I'm not joking, for our species, not just a couple of humans here and there. It will, if we don't do anything, it will destabilize the wildlife places, but it will destabilize our whole civilization. So it's something that we need to also take into account. So I have some personal questioning about flying. I'm probably going to travel a little less than in the past, but I cannot abandon also the tigers, and that's why I'm trying to focus on India. Maybe I will do one trip per year, and trying to make it worth it, and that's probably my state of mind these days, and uh, trying to be a bit more to be responsible also on this part of our life, and maybe I'm a bit too extreme in that extent, but I think the subject is quite important for everybody. So
Perfect.
that will be my closing word, I would say.
Perfect. So you covered it all. That was exactly what my last question would have been. What you want to leave to all the viewers as a last message, or as a part of the ethics people should be following. You said it all. The last 1.5 to 2 hours have been fascinating. You have almost taken a tour of the entire world, the wild planet as it should be, along with all the issues, the problems, the ecotourism side, the photography side, emotional experiences. You covered it all. So that was a
Perfect.
great session, Julian.
Thank you
Stay
very
in
much,
touch.
Maya.
We will be staying as a single family, all the wild fraternity together, and we'll
Yes,
all help to make this world a better place to stay. Thank you,
absolutely.
and
Thank you very much
uh,
for giving me the opportunity to talk today, and uh, very interesting to see other wildlife photographer when you will introduce them to your very interesting sessions.
thank you so much, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in today tonight. And we will be continuing such sessions, interesting sessions, by putting forward to you different aspects of wildlife, different problems of the wildlife, and how should we make this world more greener and beautiful. Thanks so much. Good night. See you again.
Thank you. Good
Bye
night,
bye.
and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.